Welcome to the North State Breakdown with Benjamin Nguyen. Today, I'd like to discuss the agenda for the upcoming Shasta County Board of Supervisors meeting on December 10th, 2024. This meeting is significant for several reasons. It's one of only 2 meetings scheduled for December and marks the final month of Supervisor Patrick Jones' tenure as representative for District 4. With a whopping 18 regular items and 32 consent items on the docket, including issues surrounding elections, public safety, mental health, and economic priorities, this meeting will likely generate considerable public interest and debate, particularly in regards to elections. Let's break down the agenda's key items. R3, Funding for United Airlines Flights. Supervisor Chris Kallstrom has sponsored this item, proposing an allocation of $100,000 to the City of Reading to secure eastbound flights with United Airlines. This initiative has been a long-standing priority for Kallstrom, but its practicality remains questionable. The underlying issue is that Reading's market is too small to sustain these flights, with most residents opting to travel out of Sacramento. This funding would be a one-time allocation, raising concerns about the long-term viability of such efforts. Past attempts to retain these flights have fallen through, and it seems there's a significant need for a sustainable solution rather than a stopgap measure. R4 is a tourism and marketing contract. This agenda item involves awarding a contract for tourism marketing. Ultimately, the selected vendor ended up being the Reading Chamber of Commerce, but notably in the running was the Shasta County Chamber of Commerce. During public comment at a recent meeting, Chamber founder Nigel Skeet defended the organization against criticism, stating that neither he nor anyone else from its activities have emphasized the Chamber's contributions to local businesses. Skeet accused Supervisor Mary Rickard of reversing her support for the Chamber, undermining its efforts.
Supervisor Rickard, you have openly criticized the Shasta County Chamber in public forums and on the radio, labeling us as unnecessary.
Rickard responded by raising concerns about transparency and potential conflicts of interest.
I've also had a person who had been approached by the chamber, and they were told that if they joined the chamber, all they had to do was let them know, and in 2 weeks, Kevin Crye would make sure to take care of them. That's not exactly the way I think that county government should be run, and I will not support that kind of activity.
This exchange underscores the broader debate surrounding the tourism marketing contract. Proponents argue that county-wide tourism initiatives are necessary to boost economic growth and support small businesses, while critics question the legitimacy of the Chamber's operation and whether public funds are being distributed equitably. Rickard's pointed remarks highlight a fundamental issue. Should county contracts benefit a small group of well-connected individuals, or should they serve the broader public interest? R5 is regarding the audit log timestamp issues with the election hard machines. This item involves a letter to the Department of Justice, sponsored by Supervisor Patrick Jones, requesting clarification on audit log discrepancies from the March 2024 presidential primary election. At the December 2nd event at the Reading Library, members of the New California State Group raised concerns about timestamp anomalies and alleged overcounts in voter registration and ballot distribution. These allegations fuel New California State's broader push for hand count audits, despite Registrar Voter Tom Toller consistently refuting these claims and reaffirming the integrity of the election process. Adding to this, Board Chair Kevin Crye, in his December 9th remarks, Crye stated,
"This is just asking more questions. And I think what's important, what will be interesting to also, is when we send these, is it going to be the Biden administration that responds, or is it going to be the Trump administration?"
This sentiment, while seemingly neutral, aligns closely with narratives from election denial groups, amplifying skepticism over minor administrative issues. Critics argue that sponsorship of such letters serves not to resolve genuine issues, but to legitimize unfounded claims, further eroding trust in the electoral process. R6 is regarding the ballot overspray issue. This second letter, also sponsored by Jones, addresses ink overspray issues during the November 2024 general election. While this technical issue is tied to the Hart intercivic voting machines introduced by the board majority, including Jones and Crye, it has become the focal point for New California State activists who claim it represents a broader election mismanagement. Critics argue that Crye and Jones are less focused on addressing real technical issues and more intent on weaponizing these minor flaws to perpetuate a narrative of election fraud. This approach risks diverting county resources away from meaningful governance. R7 is to declare election results. This item involves declaring nominations, measures, and persons elected based on certified results of the November 5th, 2024 presidential general election. During his December 9th comments, Crye states that this is merely a procedural step and makes sure to state that the board is not certifying the vote.
It's R7. It says declare nominations, measures, and persons elected based on the certified results of the November 5th, 2024 presidential general election. And I've talked about this on my radio show and at other times about what the role of the supervisors is. The role of the supervisors is we declare that the ROV, Tom Toller, tells us what this is. So if Tom Toller comes up and says, I am a 6'2", middle-aged man who loves reruns of Seinfeld. All we do is say Tom Toller is a middle-aged man that's 6'2", that loves reruns of Seinfeld. All we're doing as a board of supervisors, we are not certifying the vote. The Secretary of State is in that process with the ROV. The ROV certifies it, sends it on to the Secretary of State. Secretary of State accepts that.
Adding to this, the rejection of Measure P and Q on Election Day adds significant political context to this item. Both measures were authored and championed by Crye, with Measure Q proposing to expand the board's power to appoint midterm replacements for elected officials, and Measure P seeking to alter eminent domain rules to benefit private economic use. Their defeat by voters, Measure Q by a wide margin and Measure P narrowly, signals a broader rebuke of Crye's leadership and agenda. Supervisor Mary Rickert had opposed Measure Q, warning it would give the board too much power, while opponents of Measure P raised concerns about prioritizing private interests over public welfare. These defeats come just months after Crye narrowly survived a recall election in March of 2024, underscoring ongoing public dissatisfaction with his leadership. R18. Supervisor Kevin Crye has sponsored a letter supporting the Redding Rancheria Detox and Recovery Center's application for bond BHCIP funding. This proposed facility aims to address a critical gap in Shasta County's behavioral health infrastructure by offering medically assisted detox, counseling, and substance use treatment, while also reducing the burden on emergency services and law enforcement. While the project is undoubtedly a vital addition to the county, Crye's involvement invites scrutiny given his history of mixing personal business interests with official duties. Ensuring transparency and equitable management of this initiative will be key to maintaining public trust. Despite these concerns, approving this letter is a necessary step to secure funding for a much-needed community resource. Let's move on to some notable consent calendar items. This item involves adopting a policy requiring nonprofits working with the county to include financial disclosure provisions in their agreements. Chair Kevin Crye, in his December 9th remarks, emphasized his concern about nonprofit CEOs receiving excessive salaries, suggesting that the county should scrutinize how much nonprofit leaders are paid when public funds are involved. While financial transparency is important, Crye's focus on CEO pay raises several concerns. First, nonprofit organizations often compete with private sector entities for talent, and limiting CEO pay could hinder their ability to attract skilled leadership. Nonprofits are tasked with solving some of the county's most complex challenges. Issues like homelessness, mental health, and addiction. These challenges require competent, experienced executives who understand both operational efficiency and program delivery. Arbitrarily capping salaries or focusing too much on pay could lead to less effective leadership, ultimately harming the populations these organizations aim to serve. Secondly, this policy highlights a double standard. Crye's concern about nonprofit salaries contrasts sharply with the lack of financial disclosure or accountability requirements for the board members themselves. Supervisors oversee millions of taxpayer dollars, and their financial interests are often intertwined with the decisions they make. For example, Crye's history of promoting his personal business ventures while in office has drawn criticism. If transparency is the goal, why not apply the same scrutiny to the board's own financial dealings? C-15. This agreement with the Shasta County Office of Education renews support for the Child Care Bridge program, but includes a controversial amendment requiring board approval for budget changes exceeding 10%. This shift gives the board majority, currently Crye, Jones, and Kellstrom, greater control over SCOE operations. Supervisor Crye's past interactions with SCOE have been contentious. In August 2024, Crye used a meeting with SCOE Superintendent Mike Freeman, ostensibly about the Community Connect program, to pitch his Ascend program, a personal business venture. Freeman expressed discomfort with the timing and optics, further feeling concerns about Crye's influence over SCOE decisions. The Child Care Bridge Program agreement represents more than a simple contract renewal. It underscores the growing tension between the Shasta County Board of Supervisors and the Office of Education. With proven programs like Community Connect at risk due to political interference, the community should closely monitor how the board continues to handle agreements with SCOE. The stakes are high as these programs directly impact vulnerable populations like foster children and families grappling with ACEs. C26 is an annual report on public facilities impact fees. This report reviews the status of public facility impact fees, which are crucial for funding infrastructure projects such as roads, schools, and public safety facilities. These fees are collected from developers to ensure that as the community grows, essential infrastructure keeps pace with demand. However, recent years have seen a push to reduce or eliminate these fees under the premise of encouraging economic growth and development. Critics argue that such reductions come at a significant cost to the county's long-term infrastructure needs. Without adequate funding, the burden of maintaining or expanding essential services often shifts to taxpayers, creating a hidden subsidy for developers. Additionally, fee reductions can result in deferred or incomplete infrastructure projects, exacerbating issues like traffic congestion, school overcrowding, and inadequate emergency services in growing areas. C29 is for salary adjustments to align with minimum wage. This item involves a resolution to increase salary ranges for various job classifications in compliance with 2025 minimum wage laws. While this adjustment is legally mandated and necessary to support workers facing rising costs of living, it underscores a broader issue. The county struggled to maintain competitive compensation while managing limited financial resources. The board will enter closed session for up to 3.5 hours to address several sensitive topics, including labor negotiations, real property negotiations, anticipated and existing litigation, and a performance evaluation. While these discussions are confidential, they have far-reaching implications for the county's operations and governance. Here's a breakdown. R12 is a conference with labor negotiators. This item involves discussions with labor representatives over wages, benefits, and working conditions for county employees. As Shasta County faces ongoing budgetary constraints, these negotiations are crucial for maintaining essential services and workforce morale. With a history of labor disputes and dissatisfaction over compensation, the outcome of these talks will likely have a significant implication for both county employees and taxpayers. R13 and R14. These items involve negotiations regarding two properties, 1245 West Street, Reading, and 1257 West Street, Reading. The board will likely discuss potential uses for these properties, such as public projects or community services. These negotiations raise questions about how the county plans to allocate its limited resources for maximum public benefit. With the increased demand for housing and community facilities, the public will be eager to learn if these properties are being leveraged for long-term growth and stability. R15. Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation. This item focuses on potential legal disputes the county may face. While the specific details remain confidential, the board's legal challenges often stem from controversial policies or decisions. Anticipated litigation could signal new areas of legal or financial exposure for the county, warranting close public scrutiny once details emerge. R16 is Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation. This closed session item addresses multiple ongoing lawsuits involving the county. This is including Bustamante versus County of Shasta et al., County of Shasta et al. Versus California Energy Commission, Robinson v. County of Shasta et al., Crawfaller v. County of Shasta et al., and Lucero versus Toller et al. These cases cover a wide range of legal challenges, from employment disputes to issues involving state energy regulations and alleged misconduct. Each case has financial and reputational stakes for the county, with outcomes that could affect residents and county operations alike. The sheer volume of litigation suggests systemic governance issues that warrant public concern. R17. The board will evaluate the performance of the county executive officer, David Rickard, a position critical to implementing the board's policies and managing day-to-day county operations. This evaluation could signal growing tensions with county leadership, particularly as the CEO has had to navigate the fallout from controversial decisions made by the board majority. The results of this evaluation could have significant implications for the county's administrative stability. If you'd like to make your voice heard, it is imperative that you watch online or attend the meeting in person at 1450 Court Street at 9 a.m., as well as email the Board of Supervisors with your comments and concerns. I say it frequently, but it can't be overstated. Public participation is essential to ensure transparency and accountability in the county's governance. And that's the agenda preview.